This is Neil. I wanted to share some ideas and some kind of starting ideas for kids or college kids who are coming out of college. I'm sure there are a lot of course materials you need to cover within the college, and you have to go through all the subjects which is taught in your university or college, and you have to make sure you clear them. But my goal of this video is actually to focus on those college kids who are actually not sure what they need to learn or study to get into software industry, for example. So I'm a software engineer. I've been working as a senior software engineer for past 5 years, and also before that I was a software engineer for another 7 years. So I have a 12 years of software engineering experience working for different companies with different industries. I don't want to talk a lot about myself. I would like to actually help you guys, so someone who's interested to learn, get into software world or software technology industry and place themselves in a very good position by the time they finish their engineering or any bachelor's program they might be doing right now. So my goal is to help those guys or kids who actually want to land into a software job as soon as, or at least as early as they can after they finish their bachelor's degree. So to begin with, a lot of people think we have to go through all the courses within the college to, to get a good grades and land into a good software job. But that's not always necessarily true, because when you actually get into software industry and software world where people are trying to hire, they look for the skills and they look for specific skills. Some companies don't mind hiring people who may not have any experience and train them up, but not every company does that. So you're talking about 10 or 20% of students who come out of a college and land into a job based on their grades. But to survive in the software industry, you need to have some skills and you need to have experience on those skills before you actually finish your bachelor's degree, because that will give you an additional advantage and edge compared to other students who are just following the academic subjects. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just not enough for you to land into a good software job and do a rocking interview during your interview session with your different companies, software companies trying to hire you. So this first introduction video, I want to focus on few things which every college software engineer who's trying to finish their bachelor's degree in engineering, especially computer science and information system, trying to look for the better future. So the number one is presentation skills, because no matter how good you are technically or in software, you have to have the presentation skill and a little bit of communication skill, even though they don't expect a lot from a college graduate, but you have to work on that from the beginning, at least I would say from the second year of your college, so that you can sharpen your communication skill. Because at the end of the day, whatever stuff you develop using software programming language, you need to be able to explain that to your seniors or your managers or the other peers. So work on your communication skill. For that, you can actually, I would strongly suggest read a lot of podcasts. The software engineering podcast available online. Try to spend half an hour a day focusing on those podcasts. Listen, try to get adjusted to the new acronyms you will hear on those podcasts. You may not understand exactly what they're saying, but at least you can learn some terminology and basically get some understanding of what are the software paradigms and what technologies are really booming right now. So it will also help you to know how to speak, how to listen. So I would strongly suggest to listen to just Google any software engineering podcast, and there's so many out there. You can listen on your smartphone on the way to your college or on the way back home. So please make it a habit to focus on listening to this podcast, not just for your software knowledge, but also for your communication skill. It'll help you a lot. The second thing is you need to focus on what you really want to learn in terms of programming languages. There's so many programming languages out there. So I personally started with Python, and some people say Ruby, or some of them would say Java. So it really up to you. I would strongly suggest to give it a shot on all these three different programming languages, starting with Python or Java or Ruby, and try to see if you can, if it makes you feel like yes, you get it. Sometimes it takes weeks for you to understand the basic concept of any programming language. So there are a lot of good books out there for programming. I would strongly suggest Head First series. Is HEAD first. There are excellent books from Head First publication. They have one for Python, one for Java, and I'm sure they have one for Ruby as well. So just pick any book on, if you don't want to spend money on buying these books, I would strongly suggest look out in your library, check with your professors or teachers who can help you out to get at least some books which you can borrow from somebody or from them. If they don't have any Head First series, you can always go online. I'm sure they're available in Amazon for a much lower price. So try do whatever you can to get hold of Head First series books, because they're very good in explaining the basics, and they have very pictorial representation of explaining the concept, so you actually get it. Because as they say, the picture speaks explains things much clearer than reading the text. So I would strongly suggest picking one of these three books: Head First Python, or Java, or Ruby. So a lot of people focus on programming language, and it is a good idea. But some of them are very smart enough. They realize that just programming knowledge is not enough, so they get into database world. So I'm going to talk about databases in detail in the next video. But for now, I just want you to focus on at least learning a little bit of SQL, which is SQL, stands for Structured Query Language. Believe it or not, you need to be good at SQL, because at the end of the day, when you actually start developing some stuff in any company, they would require you to have good database knowledge, at least decent database knowledge. There are a lot of databases out there like MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, and there's a lot of non-SQL databases such as MongoDB, CouchDB, Cassandra. But I would strongly suggest start with the relational databases such as MySQL, Oracle, or even Microsoft SQL Server. But I would actually, as I said, I'll give a detailed video in the next section where I'm going to talk about how to start in the database. But you can actually start doing some research or Google on a database called SQLite, SQLite. So if you just Google for DB browser for SQLite, what it does is it gives you an option to download this DB browser software, which comes with SQLite. So it's a very good tool for beginners, because it'll help you to create those some things like databases, tables, and add some data in those tables. So as I said, I'll give you much more detailed picture on those videos, those things in the next video. So hopefully you can follow my channel. But yeah, I really want you to focus on not just one thing, but actually get to know a lot of things which are required as to become a successful software engineer. So I'm dedicated. I will dedicate my next several weeks, months, and year to help you guys, especially because there's a lot of good things out there, but in academic life, you will not get exposed to those things which you are really required to be good at when you get into software world. So I don't want you to spend 2, 3 years or 4 years of your engineering and then come out of your college and then struggle to get a decent job. So in order to beat other students, or in order to beat the competition, you have to be well versed with all the skills. So as I said, so I'm talking about presentation skill and also communication skill, and then you're talking about some of the technical skills you need to be good at. And then as we learn more and more, I'm going to talk about other skills you will need. But I think for the beginning, just try to get some podcasts, listen to it at least half an hour a day. You have 24 hours. So I know it's a college, you have a lot of assignments and stuff, but half an hour on the way to college or coming back home would not hurt to focus on or listen on this podcast. And as I said, so do some research on HudFirst books, and also get some database knowledge. Just Google on SQL databases, and you'll get an idea. And I'm sure HeadFirst also has HeadFirst SQL. You can actually grab hold of it if you can. If not, I'm going to just start, explain well, what a database is, so what is a relational database, non-relational database, and then I'm going to talk in detail about the SQLite database I was explaining you. So don't worry, you're in good hands, and if you're following my channel, I'll make sure you get all the knowledge you need to become a rocking software engineer even before you finish your 4 years or 3 years degree.